All right, let's dive into this. Simple solutions for complicated problems, huh? Sounds promising. I think a lot of our listeners are going to be into this one, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who isn't looking for a little more balance these days?
Right. And this book dives into some really cool stuff, like the four Purusharthas. Ever heard of them?
Oh yeah, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha.
Yeah.
Classic.
We'll break it down for anyone who's not familiar. But basically, the book shows how you can apply these ancient ideas to modern life. Pretty neat, huh?
Totally. It emphasizes like keeping things simple, finding your purpose, all that good stuff.
Exactly. It's not about some crazy overnight transformation, more like a practical way to approach all the craziness, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
Before we go too far, though, let's unpack those four Purusharthas a bit. Some of our listeners might not be totally familiar with them, right?
Definitely. So Dharma, that's all about your purpose, what you bring to the table.
Right. Oh, right.
And then there's Artha, that's more about like material well-being, security, the resources you need to thrive.
Makes sense.
Kama, that's the fun one. It's about fulfillment, joy, experiencing life to the fullest.
Nice.
And finally, you've got Moksha. That's about liberation, freedom from limitations.
I like it. It's like a whole recipe for a good life, huh?
Right. A holistic approach, that's for sure.
The book seems to say that going after all four of these Purusharthas, like in harmony, is the key. But doesn't focusing on simplicity kind of downplay how complicated some problems are? I mean, aren't we oversimplifying things a bit?
It's a good question. And the book acknowledges that life can be, complicated. It's not about ignoring that, but more about simplifying how you deal with stuff.
I see.
It's like going back to basics, nourishing your mind, body, spirit, that kind of thing.
So it's not about becoming a minimalist or anything, right?
No.
More like figuring out what truly matters and ditching the extra baggage, huh?
Exactly.
It sounds like the book actually has a framework for doing that, this simple solutions framework, right? Tell me about that. How does it work?
Well, there are 4 pillars, each connected to one of those Purusharthas. First up, you've got Dharma, a purposeful routine. It's about aligning your actions with your purpose.
So you're shaping your day around what's important, not just reacting to stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I can dig it. What about the next pillar?
Next is Artha, nourishing health and wealth. It's about building well-being through balanced nutrition, grounding practices, even incorporates Ayurveda.
Ayurveda? I'm not that familiar with Ayurveda. What's that all about?
Oh, it's an ancient Indian system of medicine. It's all about holistic health and well-being. It can get pretty complex.
I bet.
But the book focuses on the key principles you can easily use in your life, like understanding your mind-body type, adjusting your diet and lifestyle accordingly.
So you can really tie these ancient ideas into modern life. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about the third pillar? What's that one all about?
That's Kama, mindful fulfillment, finding joy and pleasure, but doing it mindfully, intentionally.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not about denying yourself pleasures, but about really experiencing them fully, right?
Exactly. Not getting lost in mindless consumption, but actually savoring the experience.
I like that. What's the last pillar, though?
It's moksha, spiritual freedom. It encourages reconnecting with your higher self through things like yoga and meditation, cultivating inner peace and getting rid of limiting beliefs.
Sounds like a way to find some calm in the middle of all the craziness, right?
Sure.
Okay, so we've got those 4 pillars, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The big question is, how do you actually use them to get past obstacles and actually make positive changes? What does the book say about that?
Well, that's where transforming obstacles into opportunities comes in. It's all about reframing your struggles and seeing them as chances to grow.
So instead of getting stuck on the challenges, you're using them to, level up.
Exactly. The book also talks about recognizing those limitations we put on ourselves. We often have way more potential than we realize.
Yeah, but we get in our own way.
Right. It's about pushing past those boundaries and being resilient when things change.
So this shift in perspective, the book says it can be pretty powerful.
Totally.
But how do you actually put it into practice? What are some of those simple solutions the book talks about?
Well, for connecting with your Dharma, they suggest this simple 10-minute morning routine, setting an intention for the day, thinking about your core values, visualizing yourself actually living your purpose.
Sounds like a good way to start the day on the right foot. What about some practical stuff for Artha, nourishing health and wealth?
They emphasize grounding practices, especially now with all the technology and fast-paced life. Simple things like walking barefoot on grass, spending time in nature.
Just getting back to basics, huh?
Yeah, it can help with stress, sleep, just feeling better overall.
Makes sense. It's those small things that can make a big difference. What about karma, finding mindful fulfillment? Does the book get into specifics there?
Definitely. They encourage you to be more intentional about what you do. They suggest making a joy list. Basically, write down all the activities that really bring you pleasure and make you feel fulfilled. Then schedule them into your week, like appointments.
That's a cool idea. It's about making time for the good stuff.
Exactly. And savoring those experiences, being present in the moment. They give tips on mindfulness too, focusing on your senses, your breath, letting go of distractions.
I can see how that all ties together. This book sounds like a really practical guide to bringing these ancient principles into our lives. But what about moksha, spiritual freedom? Any concrete advice for incorporating that into our daily routine?
They highlight meditation, even just a few minutes each day. Find a quiet spot, close your eyes, focus on your breath. They also talk about the benefits of gratitude.
It's just focusing on the good stuff, huh?
Right. It can bring inner peace, reduce stress, and even help you feel connected to something bigger than yourself.
So it's like finding peace in all the chaos.
That's awesome. It's amazing how this book ties all these seemingly different ideas into one whole framework for living a better life. What takeaways do you think our listeners will get from exploring these concepts?
Well, I think the biggest one is a practical way to figure out what's causing challenges in your life and how to overcome them. It's about simplifying your thoughts, habits, actions, so you can focus on what really matters.
That's super valuable, especially these days. It's like taking back your energy and time and using them for what brings you joy and fulfillment.
Exactly. Creating a life that feels right, aligns with your purpose and values.
This has been such a cool look at the book so far. We've covered the 4 Purusharthas, the Simple Solutions framework, and that empowering idea of transforming obstacles into opportunities. It seems like this book really does offer a path to real change, using simple but powerful solutions.
And, before we move on, I think it's key to remember the book's main message. It's this. The journey toward evolution and liberation, it's within everyone's grasp. You don't need to make some grand gesture. It's about those small, consistent choices that align with the 4 Purusharthas.
Exactly.
So taking those first steps, and then another and another, always moving towards that vision of a more balanced and meaningful life. What about you? What stands out to you from this first part of our deep dive? Anything that particularly grabbed you?
For me, it's that whole idea of bringing those ancient ideas into today's world. Not living in the past, but actually using those timeless principles right now.
Yeah, I get that. Finding that balance, right, between honoring tradition, but also being present in the moment. And speaking of balance, one area where that's always tricky is relationships.
Oh, totally.
Does the book talk about that at all?
Yeah, it does. The author really stresses healthy relationships. They can bring so much joy.
Right.
But they can also, drain your energy.
So true. That's something we all deal with, I think. How do we nurture the good relationships and, navigate the ones that aren't so good? Does the book have any advice on that?
It talks a lot about boundaries, recognizing them, setting them, being aware of the energy you give and take in your interactions.
That's so key.
And focusing on the connections that actually make you feel good.
Yeah. It's not about, cutting people out of your life necessarily.
No, it's not at all.
But more about choosing how you spend your energy.
Exactly. And realizing that not all relationships are the same. Some just need more energy than others.
True. And, the book goes even further and says your relationship with yourself is just as important.
Oh, absolutely.
Self-care, self-compassion, those are so important, but we often forget about them. What does the book say about that? How do we build a better relationship with ourselves?
It talks about practices like mindfulness, gratitude, self-reflection, making time for things that nourish your mind, body, spirit.
Okay, yeah.
Like reading, spending time in nature, even just sitting in quiet for a bit.
Just creating space to check in with yourself, listen to your gut, right?
Exactly. And making your own well-being a priority.
Which isn't selfish at all. It's essential.
It really is.
If you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others?
Exactly. It's not about neglecting others. It's about making sure you're coming from a good place,
Yeah, that makes sense. Filling your own cup first so you have something to give to others.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the best messages of this book. It's about finding balance and wholeness within yourself first, and then bringing that out into the world to make things better.
It's a beautiful idea.
It is, recognizing that we're all connected, and that taking care of ourselves helps everyone.
Powerful stuff. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what other key takeaways do you want to leave our listeners with?
I think it's important to remember that simplicity isn't about deprivation. It's about being clear and intentional. It's about getting rid of the excess, zeroing in on what truly matters, making sure your actions match up with your purpose.
So creating a life that feels right, that reflects your values and what you want to achieve.
Exactly. And it's not about reaching some finish line. It's about enjoying the journey.
Even with all the bumps in the road, right?
Exactly. The book really emphasizes that moving towards evolution and liberation is a process. There will be challenges, but the key is to see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Seeing those obstacles as chances to transform, huh? Embracing the messiness, the imperfections of the journey.
Absolutely.
And remembering you don't have to do it alone.
That's so important. The book encourages finding support, whether it's from friends, family, mentors, even a therapist.
Just recognizing that we're all in this together,
Yeah.
and there's strength in leaning on each other.
Yeah. Building a community where you can share your struggles, celebrate your wins, and keep each other going.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And recognizing that even small acts of kindness can make a difference. They can spread and create a more loving and supportive world.
I love that. So it's about those small, consistent actions, those little bits of kindness that can build up and create real change. A reminder that we all have a part to play in making the world a better place. What are your thoughts on that, listener?
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring, right? You don't have to wait for some big moment to make a difference. It can start right now with those little everyday things.
Exactly. It's so empowering, right? Like, you don't have to feel overwhelmed by all the world's problems, You can actually do something.
It's about focusing on what you can control, your own thoughts and actions and intentions, and trusting that those little things can make a difference beyond yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And remembering that you're not alone in this. The book talks a lot about connection and community, reaching out, helping each other, celebrating when things go well.
Creating a sense of purpose together, like moving towards a better way of life together.
Absolutely. And, even with all the tough stuff and the complicated things, there's always hope, always beauty, always a chance for growth and change. That's a good point, yeah. It's like even when things are messy, there's something good there.
Right. This book, it's like it gives you a map, a framework, some tools, but in the end, it's up to you to take those tools and build something meaningful.
Yeah, I love that. It's like a reminder that we all have the power to create our own lives, to make things happen that match up with what we believe in.
Totally.
And when we work together, when we support each other, we can make the world a better place for everyone, A world that's more peaceful, more caring, more fulfilling.
I think that's a perfect way to end this conversation. This book, it shows you a path, but it's up to each of us to walk it.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to change our lives, to make things the way we want them to be. And by helping each other, supporting each other on those journeys, we can create a world that's better for everyone, a world where everyone can thrive.
So to our listener, I'd say really dig into these ideas. Check out the book, try some of the things it suggests, see what speaks to you, embrace simplicity, and start your own journey towards a more balanced and fulfilling life.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep searching for those simple solutions, and keep believing in the power of positive change.